Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Comedian Jordan Black brings his improv comedy show, The Black Version, to the Kennedy Center tomorrow through Saturday. We spoke about his hilarious idea of doing black versions of beloved white blockbusters, as well as his own career from Saturday Night Live to Community to the Wonder Years.
I'm Jordan Black. I'm the creator of The Black Version, an all-black improv show that we will be performing at the Kennedy Center.
Yes, it's coming to the Kennedy Center's Family Theater this Thursday through Saturday, and you don't want to miss it. It sounds hilarious. Give me the basic premise, because when I first read this, I immediately thought of that movie critic scene in Hollywood Shuffle.
Yes, exactly. The premise of our show is, like I said, it's called The Black Version, and simply what we do is, at the beginning of the show, our director polls the audience for movie titles, then eventually picks one, the audience votes, the director decides, and we do whatever, like a real movie like Titanic or Star Wars, and then we immediately improvise the black version of that movie.
It's a genius idea. So where exactly this started? You workshopped it, I guess, at the Groundlings, right?
Yes, yeah, that's where we started. We've been doing the show since 2010, so almost 12 years now, and so we it just came about because doing improv, as a black person, you don't see a lot of black improvisers. So over many years of doing improv, I slowly met more and more black improvisers. So at a certain point, I felt like I had enough to do an all black improv show. And that's really what birthed the idea of this show. I just wanted to hang out with my friends who I never get to see because they were always in somebody else's improv show as the one black person in an improv show.
All right, well, who are some of those friends that you get to hang out with? I mean, I have the list here, but you said...
Yeah, the ones that are coming to D.C. are Gary Anthony Williams, Phil Lamar, Daniel Gaither, Naima Funk, and myself. And then our director, Karen Maruyama, who is Japanese American and not African American. But when we originally did the show, the original cast was all those people I just named. Also, Cedric Yarbrough, who's still in the cast, but he's not coming to DC because he's shooting a TV show in Canada right now. And Key and Peele were in the original cast.
Both Key and Peele were in the original cast.
Yeah, they were in the very first show and in the show for a long time after that.
Wow, and mention you had some really famous guest performers that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun guest performers. Wayne Brady's done it a bunch. Tiffany Haddish, Niecy Nash. I'm off the top of my head, I can't remember anymore.
Jerry Minor,
yes, for sure. Angela Shelton from Frangela has done it. So yeah, tons of really cool guests.
I love it. Now you mentioned, you gave me one good example of, doing a Titanic, but you call it the black version. Go into that a little more. So what entailed the quote black version of Titanic? What was different about the ship?
Well, I'm sure the ship was a lot smaller. If memory serves, it's an improv show, and we've done so many of these now, Jason, that it can become a blur. Sure. But I do remember the title. No, I don't remember I don't remember the title of Titanic. I remember the title of Jaws, which was Catfish. And the audience also makes up the titles. Like they pick the movie, and then they pick what the black version of the movie is titled.
Awesome. So
I remember Titanic. It was there was a lot of the gambling scene. I think it was craps instead of like cards or whatever they had in the movie. So
I love it. What are some of the other movies that people have thrown out over the years, and some tidbits about how you did them?
Yeah. Well, we did. Let me think. We did Pretty Woman. That was called Hot Mess. We did When Harry Met Sally. That was called When Ray Ray Boned Keisha. Let me think of some where I can really think of some good moments. We did Back to the Future, which of course was called Black to the Future.
That writes itself.
Yeah, and in that one, whatever the black Marty McFly did to fix the future, when we came back, his dad was no longer the bullied nerd; he was Barack Obama. So.
Hello, McFly.
Yeah,
Mr. President.
right.
Oh, that's great. So Biff was bullying a future president. Funny how that works.
Exactly.
That is great, man. That's awesome. Well, it's a really really funny idea. So are the audience yelling them out in the theater, or do they write stuff down and put it in a hat or something on the way in?
They yell it out. We have them yell it out, yell out titles, and then our director writes them down, and then she like starts saying, she goes down the list and says, clap for the ones you want, and whichever one gets the most applause is the one we'll do that night.
Has anyone tried to throw you for a loop and say like, hey, do The Best Man or do Girls Trip? And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, they do. And we tell them we're not going to do a black movie because it's already been done. And also the other thing is we don't let them say like, oh, do The Bicycle Thief. It has to be an iconic movie that even if people haven't seen it, they know it. Meaning like if we do E.T. and you've never seen E.T., you know kind of the premise of it.
That's on you if you haven't seen E.T.
Of course. Yeah. So it's that thing of we're going to do a movie that people at least are familiar with, the themes of it and the story. So because then people enjoy it more if they actually know the movie.
Right. Well, you and I know The Bicycle Thief, but I don't know how many of our Kennedy Center audiences are going to know Italian neorealism.
Exactly.
I love it. All right. Well, bring your mainstream movie ideas and talk.
Exactly. That's what we tell them.
And so then does the whole performance that night, is it like a whole, that it's just that one movie title and you act it out, or is it like multiple throughout the show?
Well, what it is we do one movie for the night, and then in the second half of the show, we do the DVD extras. So we do like, we'll do
bonus features.
Bonus features, exactly. We'll do like deleted scenes. We'll do lost auditions. We'll do, because we have we do song improv in the show as well. So we do a lot of music in the show. We have a killer band. And so we'll do like a song cut from the soundtrack, and to back up, even throughout the movie, there are songs that we do throughout the movie. Like we open with the love theme for the movie every show. And then we'll drop in a song here and there in the movie to keep it moving.
So even if it's something like Jaws, it still gets a love theme.
Yes, it still gets a love theme. Yep, for sure. It's the black version. There's got to be a love theme.
But gives a new meaning to I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Exactly. The love version. Had a little drink about an hour ago. The love version. All right. Well, it's a really genius idea. So that's really cool, and you've been able to keep it going for so long. Well, remind our listeners your story a little bit. Where did you grow up? How did you get into comedy? Maybe your early comedy idols, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. I grew up in Illinois, a small town. I was a classic class clown. Unfortunately for my teachers, I feel bad for them now.
Fortunately for your classmates, though.
Yeah, I mean, my classmates loved it, but my teachers not so much. But when I graduated high school, I came to LA and to act, and eventually made my way to the Groundlings and took classes there, and became a member of that theater company, and that really is what sort of got the doors open for me into the television and movie industry. And from there, I got to, act on TV, write on TV. One of my first writing jobs was Saturday Night Live, because Saturday Night Live, hires a lot of people from the Groundlings.
What season? Like, what year? What season were you?
I was there 2003, 2004 season.
Okay, so name some of the cast members? Was that
I can go down the list. We had Maya Rudolph, who's a good friend, a Groundling alum. Will Forte, another Groundling alum. We had Fred Armisen, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Jimmy Fallon, Daryl Hammond.
Was Bill Hader there yet?
Bill Hader was not there yet. Kenan Thompson was there.
Awesome.
Finesse Mitchell. J.B. Smoove was writing on the show with me. Jason Sudeikis was writing on the show with me. Awesome. So it was a great group of people. Really great.
So cool, man.
Yeah.
And then did you do a little Mad TV, or was it more just like a?
Yeah, I did a guest spot on Mad TV. I was never a regular on Mad TV. Our one of our members of our cast, Phil Lamar, who will be there this week at the Kennedy Center, he is an original cast member on Mad TV.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, writing for those sketch shows must be awesome.
So much fun, incredible.
Trying to remind some of our listeners some of the other stuff you do. What was the Comedy Central thing you did? Halfway Home?
Halfway Home. Yeah, that was a great show. Really funny show. and that was an improvised show, sort of like Reno 911.
Right.
That was an improvised show where all the dialogue was improvised, and we had a great cast. We had Oscar Nunez, who was one of the creators of the show, was on there, and Octavia Spencer was there, before she won her Oscar and when we could afford her. So it was a really great show, it was one of my favorite gigs I ever had.
And of course, all the improvising ties perfectly into what you're doing with the black version.
Exactly.
It's always good practice.
Yes.
And also tell our listeners that they need to go dig up this mockumentary short you made called "The Old Negro Space Program."
Yeah.
Remind us how it ties sort of a spoof of Ken Burns baseball a little bit.
Yeah,
which is awesome, by the way. I love that series.
Yeah, it's definitely a spoof of Ken Burns baseball, it's based on the idea of the old Negro baseball league. And so my friend Andy Bobrow, who's also a Groundling alum, who's also a big writer producer, and he was a writer producer on Community. He came up with this idea and wrote it, and it's about the old Negro space program, and it's about how they didn't have the best equipment and all these things, and I played one of the astronauts in it. And and it's like in the Ken Burns style, it's like reading the letters from home, and it's so hilarious. And you can find it online, and you should do yourself a favor and find it and watch it, because it's so funny, because just this week and we did it so long ago, and just this week someone brought it up to me.
Maybe because Ken Burns has the new it's called US and the Holocaust. So I just started watching that last night. That's some heavy stuff, but it's nice. It's cool that you did a spoof here of the NASA and baseball.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, you mentioned Community a second ago. Remind us, you were the dean of the community college.
Yeah, so I was the evil dean of the rival city college. Yes, Dean Spreck. That was so much fun. And my friend Andy Bobrow from Groundlings, who wrote on the show and produced the show, he also created that character. And so I got to play it, and I also got to work with my good friend Jim Rash, who's from the Groundlings. So I had a lot of scenes with him. He played the regular dean, the good dean, so to speak, on the show. So it was, and I love the Russo brothers, who I'd worked with over the years, and they were producing the show. So that was a big part of how I got on the show as well.
Yeah, what did they ever do? They've never.
I don't know. I feel bad for them.
Never made any money,
It just seems like Hollywood just turned their back on those guys. I don't know why.
Struggling to find work. Hey, I'm gonna toss it out to you now. What would be the black version of the Avengers?
Oh my God.
Not to put you on the spot, because
no, that's good.
There are black.
I mean, I know it could be done.
Yeah.
The black version of the Avengers. I'm trying to think of what the title would be. I have no title for that one. But the black version of the Avengers would be, I guess, would be all the rejected, superheroes who got rejected because of racism, or it would be like, okay, they did a bunch of diversity hires, so now they're going to bring in.
Right.
They're going to bring in the heroes who never got a shot before.
Right, exactly.
We'll have to be twice as heroic for half the money, so that's sort of how it would be.
Right, and then it does great like Black Panther. So there you go.
Exactly.
There you go. Well, thanks. I didn't want you to put you on the spot, but
no, I love it. That's my job. I have to get put on the spot. Jason.
Exactly. Well, you've done it all. How I Met Your Mother and Ballers and Curb Your Enthusiasm. We won't go into all of it, but everyone should look up your whole credits. It's really impressive. But I do want to at least mention one of the more recent ones. Tell us, how fun has it been writing on the new Wonder Years?
Oh, it's the most fun. I mean, my boss, Saladin Patterson, is a joy. I've worked with him in the past. I've known him a long time and worked with him over the past. And he's such a great boss. He's so good. Like, I don't know how. He's such a nice person and a good boss, so that I don't know how the scripts come out so good. The scripts come out so good and the episodes come out so good, because the show is excellent. We won a Peabody last season.
Oh, my wife and I love it. It's a great show, man.
It is such a great show, and I'm really proud of it. So, it's a joy working with the other writers and as well as the cast, so it's been so much fun. It's one of my favorite gigs I've ever had. I'm really lucky to have this job.
That's really cool. Is it always a thrill when you write some words on a page as a writer and then you hear, is it Don Cheadle gets to read them?
Yeah.
Like, that's gotta be awesome.
Oh my God. Yes, Jason, for sure. Like, the fact that, I'm going to write something and Don Cheadle's going to say it, or a joke I wrote and Don Cheadle's going to deliver it. I mean, come on, you can't ask for better than that. It's just, it's incredible. In our cast, it's like Dule Hill is such a pro and so great. And it's like, I'm so impressed with all of them that it's, we're lucky to have the people we have to say the words.
Oh yeah, and I can't commend you enough for it because and it's always tricky when you reboot a beloved show like the Wonder
Yeah.
Years. We all grew up watching the '80s version, and it's
Yep.
just that classic theme song and Joe Cocker, everything. And
Yes.
then so clearly people had, I guess, every right to be maybe skeptical going in, but you nailed it. I mean, you nailed it. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I feel the same way. I feel like it stands on its own feet, and so I think we've done. And I think season 2, which we are in the middle of shooting now, I think people are really going to be happy with it.
Oh yeah, I just love that it captures the nostalgia like the original, but this one it has a lot more. I don't know. There's commentary on race relations from then to now. It's like you're hashing out present issues while back in those times. It's really, really well done.
And that's all my boss Saladin. That's his.
Yeah. That's
really his sweet spot, and that was his desire for the show, for us to be able to weave that stuff in without being heavy-handed and still have comedy and have laughs and all those things. He's done a real good job of balancing all of that.
Awesome. Well, you've been more than generous with your time. Before we run, let's bring it full circle back around to the Black version at the Kennedy Center, and how I mentioned at the top that the premise, when I read it reminded me of the scene in Hollywood Shuffle with the Black movie critics.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. Like, were you inspired by that? Did you grow up just loving that?
Not directly to the show, but I mean, just through osmosis. Like, I'm inspired by so many people, Robert Townsend being one of them. In that movie, I saw it as a teenager, so it had a huge impact on me, and it had a huge impact on the kind of work I want to do. That is social commentary, that has something to say. So, and I think the Black version is definitely part of that genre of having something to say.
Oh yeah, it's classic. If folks haven't seen it, it's like a Siskel and Ebert, but basically looking at classics. I guess in that it's like beloved white movies like Dirty Harry, and then they're like, well, wait a minute, no, he wouldn't be able to just do that. He would get blown away. It's great.
I saw it like a few years ago. Actually, I went to a screening that Robert Townsend came to, and then did a Q&A afterwards, and his stories about making it work. Just as good as the movie.
All right. Well, but first, check out the Black version at the Kennedy Center. It sounds hilarious. Anything else you want to say?
So all I want to say is just come on out to the Kennedy Center. We're there Thursday through Saturday this week. And just come up with all your best movie ideas that you want to see us do the Black version of. And we will have a lot of fun doing it for you.
I love it. Hey, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jason. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.